Would you spend the night in South Australia's most haunted locations? From ghostly prisoners to weeping Victorian women, these places are crawling with paranormal activity, and we've got the terrifying true stories to prove it. Join me as we uncover the 10 most haunted spots in SA, where visitors have seen chairs move by themselves, heard phantom footsteps, and even come face to face with full-bodied apparitions. These aren't just campfire tales, they're real encounters that will make you sleep with the lights on. Hit subscribe, and let's step into the darkness together, if you dare. Let's reach 1K subs and unlock a special haunted investigation. Subscribe now and join the ghost hunting crew. The scarier it gets, the more we explore. 1. The Adelaide Arcade. The Adelaide Arcade is one of the most famous haunted places in South Australia, with real ghost stories that have frightened visitors and workers for over a century. Built in 1885, this historic shopping arcade in the heart of Adelaide is not just known for its beautiful architecture but also for its paranormal activity. The most well-known ghost is that of Francis Clooney, a caretaker who died tragically in 1887. He was checking the arcade's generator when his sleeve got caught in the machinery, pulling him in and killing him instantly. Since then, many people have reported seeing his ghost walking through the arcade, especially near the old generator room. Some say they hear strange noises, like footsteps or machinery sounds, even when no one is there. Others have seen a shadowy figure in old-fashioned clothes, believed to be Francis, still watching over the place where he died. Another ghost said to haunt the Adelaide Arcade is a young girl in Victorian clothing, often spotted near the balcony. Some believe she may have died in the arcade long ago, but her identity remains a mystery. Workers and shoppers have reported feeling sudden cold spots, hearing children's laughter when no kids are around, and even seeing objects move on their own. One shop owner claimed that items would disappear overnight, only to reappear in strange places the next day. Security guards working late shifts have also shared stories of doors opening and closing by themselves and strange whispers in empty hallways. The most chilling story comes from people who have seen a ghostly woman in black, believed to be a mourner from the 1800s. She is often seen near the arcade's entrance, staring sadly before vanishing into thin air. Some say she may be connected to a tragic death in the area, but no one knows for sure. Over the years, paranormal investigators have visited the Adelaide Arcade, capturing strange voices in recordings and unexplained shadows in photographs. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the stories of the Adelaide Arcade's hauntings are so widespread that even skeptics admit there's something eerie about the place. For those brave enough to visit, keep an eye out, you might just encounter one of its restless spirits. 2. The Capri Theatre, Goodwood. The Capri Theatre in Goodwood is one of South Australia's most haunted places, with a ghostly history that has sent chills down the spines of visitors and staff for decades. Opened in 1941, this historic cinema is famous not just for its classic films but also for the spirit of a former projectionist named Mr. Edwards, who is said to still linger in the building long after his death. According to local stories, Mr. Edwards worked at the theatre for many years and loved his job so much that he never truly left, even in death. Staff and patrons have reported seeing his shadowy figure moving in the projection room, where he once worked, and hearing unexplained footsteps and the sound of old film reels turning when no one is there. Some have even claimed to smell cigarette smoke, as if someone invisible is standing nearby, watching the screen just like in the old days. Another strange occurrence at the Capri Theatre involves mysterious cold spots, particularly near the back rows of the cinema. People sitting in these seats have suddenly felt an icy chill, even on warm nights, as if an unseen presence has settled beside them. Some have reported seeing the outline of a man in old-fashioned clothes sitting quietly in the dark, only for him to vanish when they look again. There are also stories of theater seats moving on their own, lights flickering without explanation, and faint whispers echoing through the empty hallways after closing time. One cleaner even swore they saw a ghostly figure walking across the stage late at night, disappearing into the curtains when they called out. The most famous ghostly encounter happened when a staff member was working alone late one evening. They heard the distinct sound of someone walking in the upper balcony, but when they went to check, no one was there. Suddenly, the fire doors slammed shut by themselves, trapping them inside until another worker arrived to help. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Capri Theatre say they've recorded eerie voices and strange energy in the building, supporting the claims of hauntings. Whether it's the spirit of Mr. Edwards or another restless soul, something supernatural definitely calls the Capri Theatre home. For those who visit, keep an eye on the shadows. You might just catch a glimpse of the cinema's ghostly past coming to life. 3. The Old Adelaide Jail. The Old Adelaide Jail is one of South Australia's most terrifying haunted locations, with a dark history that has left behind countless ghostly spirits. Built in 1841, this grim prison housed some of the state's most dangerous criminals for nearly 150 years before closing in 1988. During its operation, 45 people were executed within its walls, and many more died from disease, violence, or suicide. With so much suffering and death, it's no surprise that visitors and staff have reported spine-chilling encounters with the prison's former inmates, some of whom seem unwilling or unable to move on. One of the most famous ghosts is Ben Henderson, a man hanged in 1895 for murder. His execution was botched when the rope snapped, forcing guards to hang him a second time. Many believe his angry spirit still lingers near the gallows, where people have heard choking sounds, seen shadowy figures, and even felt invisible hands touching their necks. Others have reported sudden drops in temperature and an overwhelming sense of dread in this area, as if Henderson's suffering has been imprinted on the location forever. Another well-known spirit is that of Elizabeth Woolcock, the only woman ever executed in South Australia. Convicted of poisoning her husband in 1873, she spent her final days in cell 18, weeping and praying before her hanging. Visitors to this cell often report hearing a woman crying, smelling faint perfume, or seeing a ghostly figure in old-fashioned clothing. Some have even claimed to feel a gentle touch on their shoulder, as if Elizabeth is seeking comfort from beyond the grave. But perhaps the most active ghost is the Whistler, an unseen prisoner who roams the corridors at night, whistling an eerie tune. Guards and paranormal investigators have heard this phantom whistling for years, sometimes followed by loud bangs or the sound of dragging chains. Many believe this spirit is a former inmate who went mad in solitary confinement, his mind forever trapped in the prison's oppressive darkness. Other strange occurrences include disembodied voices echoing through empty cell blocks, shadowy figures darting just out of sight, and cell doors slamming shut on their own, even when they've been removed from their hinges. Nighttime visitors often report feeling watched, and some have captured ghostly faces in photographs or recorded unexplained voices on EVP recordings. The Old Adelaide Jail now operates as a museum, offering ghost tours for brave souls willing to face its haunted past. But one thing is certain, not all of its prisoners are gone. Some still walk its cold stone halls, trapped in an endless nightmare of their own making. For the Bridgewater Mill. The Bridgewater Mill, nestled in the Adelaide Hills, is one of South Australia's most picturesque yet haunted locations, with a tragic love story that seems to have left a ghostly imprint on the old stone building. Built in 1860 as a flour mill, this charming historic site now operates as a restaurant and function center, but staff and visitors have long reported eerie encounters with what many believe to be the spirit of a heartbroken woman. The most persistent ghost story centers around a young woman named Sarah, who supposedly died at the mill in the late 1800s under mysterious circumstances. According to local legend, Sarah was deeply in love with one of the mill workers, but when he left her for another woman, she became so distraught that she threw herself from the mill's upper level to her death. Since then, her restless spirit has been seen wandering the building, dressed in a flowing white gown, her face filled with sorrow. Staff working late at night have reported hearing soft crying coming from empty rooms, particularly near the old mill area where Sarah allegedly died. Some have seen a pale, misty figure standing on the staircase or looking out from upper windows when no one else is in the building. Others tell of sudden cold spots that move through rooms, accompanied by the faint scent of lavender perfume, a detail that makes the encounters even more chilling. One chef reported that kitchen equipment would turn on by itself late at night, with pots and pans rattling as if someone invisible was moving them. Several employees have refused to work alone after experiencing the overwhelming feeling of being watched, followed by the sound of a woman's whisper right behind them, only to turn and find no one there. The most disturbing account came from a wedding party that stayed late one evening. Several guests claimed to see a ghostly woman in Victorian-era clothing standing near the mill wheel, watching them with sad eyes before disappearing into the darkness. When they asked staff about it, they were told they weren't the first to see the mill's lady. Paranormal investigators who visited the site recorded strange electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, including a faint female voice saying, "He's gone," and another whispering, "Why did you leave me?" The Bridgewater Mill's beautiful stone walls and romantic atmosphere may make it a popular venue today, but many believe Sarah's ghost remains trapped there, forever mourning her lost love. Whether it's the sound of her weeping, the sight of her pale figure, or just an unexplainable feeling of sadness that comes over visitors in certain spots, the mill's haunted reputation continues to linger as persistently as the spirit said to call it home. 5. The Mount Lofty House. Mount Lofty House, nestled in the Adelaide Hills, is one of South Australia's most elegant yet haunted locations, with ghostly encounters that have chilled guests and staff for generations. This grand 19th-century mansion, now a luxury hotel, was originally built in 1852 as a private residence before serving as a convent and girls' school. Its long history of different occupants seems to have left behind more than just memories. Many believe spirits still linger in its halls. The most frequently reported ghost is that of a weeping woman, often seen or heard near the grand staircase and second-floor corridors. Guests have described waking to the sound of a woman sobbing in the night, only to find no one there when they investigate. Some have even seen a misty figure in old-fashioned clothing drifting along the hallway before vanishing through a solid wall. Staff whisper that she may be the spirit of a heartbroken maid who took her own life after a failed romance with the estate's original owner, though no records confirm this tragic tale. Another well-known spirit is a stern-looking nun who appears in the older sections of the building that once housed the convent. Visitors report feeling sudden cold spots and an uneasy presence in these areas, with some claiming to have seen the ghostly figure of a nun silently watching them before fading away. The hotel's dining room also has its share of supernatural activity. Several guests and waitstaff have reported seeing cutlery move on its own, glasses tipping over without explanation, and the distinct feeling of invisible hands brushing past them. One particularly chilling account comes from a couple who stayed in room 22, who awoke to find the ghostly figure of a young girl standing at the foot of their bed, staring at them before walking straight through the closed door. Perhaps the most disturbing reports come from the basement area, where staff refuse to go alone after dark. Many describe hearing strange scratching sounds, disembodied whispers, and the sensation of being followed by something unseen. One maintenance worker claimed to have seen a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes lurking in the boiler room before it disappeared into the darkness. Paranormal investigators who visited Mount Lofty House have captured numerous unexplained phenomena, including ghostly voices responding to questions and sudden temperature drops with no logical cause. Whether it's the weeping woman mourning her lost love, the strict nun keeping watch over her former convent, or more sinister presences in the shadows, Mount Lofty House's beautiful facade hides a much spookier reality. Guests checking in for a peaceful getaway often find themselves checking over their shoulders instead, wondering if they'll be the next to encounter one of the mansion's permanent spectral residents. The hotel staff have learned to live with their ghostly co-workers, but for visitors unprepared for a supernatural encounter, a night at Mount Lofty House might prove far more memorable, and frightening, than they ever imagined. 6. The Port Adelaide Police Station and Museum. The Port Adelaide Police Station and Museum stands as one of South Australia's most actively haunted locations, where the echoes of criminal past seem to linger in the form of restless spirits. Built in 1864, this historic building served as a functioning police station until 1984, housing some of the state's most dangerous criminals in its cramped cells. Today, as a museum showcasing police memorabilia, it attracts more ghost hunters than history buffs, with countless reports of unexplained phenomena that suggest former inmates, and perhaps even officers, never truly left. The most commonly reported spirit is that of a tall, shadowy figure seen pacing the old charge room, believed by many to be the ghost of a policeman who died on duty. Visitors describe feeling watched in this area, with some capturing strange mists or shadowy shapes in their photographs. Staff members opening the museum in the morning often find chairs moved from their usual positions, paperwork disturbed, and sometimes hear the distinct sound of heavy police boots walking across the floor when no one else is present. The old holding cells in the basement provide the most chilling encounters, where visitors report sudden temperature drops and overwhelming feelings of despair. Many refuse to enter cell 3, where multiple people have experienced difficulty breathing and the sensation of invisible hands pressing against their throats, possibly connected to prisoners who took their own lives while in custody. Paranormal investigators have recorded eerie electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, in these cells, including whispered pleas for help and angry shouts in old-fashioned Australian slang. One tour guide reported seeing the clear apparition of a disheveled man in outdated prison clothing sitting on a cell bunk. When she approached, the figure simply faded away. Others have smelled strong, unexplained odors like tobacco smoke or body odor in areas where no one has been smoking and no logical source exists. The upstairs offices, once used by police detectives, also host supernatural activity. Museum volunteers frequently arrive to find filing cabinet drawers opened overnight despite being securely locked, and the old manual typewriters sometimes produce the sound of keys being struck when no one is near them. The most disturbing account came from a night security guard who swore he saw a ghostly woman in a long, blood-stained dress standing in the upstairs hallway, her face twisted in silent anguish before she disappeared through a wall. Some researchers believe she may be connected to unsolved murder cases handled at the station. Whether it's the residual energy of violent crimes, the trapped spirits of criminals, or deceased officers still keeping watch, the Port Adelaide Police Station and Museum offers more than just historical artifacts. It provides terrifying glimpses into the afterlife that continue to unsettle even the most skeptical visitors. Those brave enough to explore after dark often leave convinced that the building's haunted reputation is well earned, with many vowing they'll never return after experiencing its ghostly residents firsthand. 7. The Edinburgh Castle, Adelaide Pub. The Edinburgh Castle, an old pub in Adelaide's city centre, is one of South Australia's most unexpectedly haunted locations, where patrons often find themselves sharing drinks with more than just the living. Established in 1853, this historic building has served as a hotel, brothel, and now a popular pub, each chapter of its past leaving behind ghostly remnants that refuse to fade away. The most famous spirit is believed to be George South, a former publican who ran the hotel in the late 1800s and loved the place so much he never left, even in death. Staff and customers regularly report seeing the ghostly figure of a well-dressed older man with a bushy mustache sitting at the end of the bar or standing near the fireplace, watching over his beloved establishment. Many claim to have seen beer taps turn on by themselves, glasses moving across tables untouched, and the distinct smell of old-fashioned pipe tobacco lingering in empty rooms. All signs they believe point to George still keeping an eye on business. The upstairs area, once used as bedrooms when the building operated as a hotel, holds particularly chilling stories. Cleaning staff refuse to work alone after multiple encounters with a weeping woman in Victorian-era clothing who appears near the old staircase before vanishing into thin air. Some believe she may have been one of the working girls from the building's brothel days, possibly meeting a tragic end within its walls. Guests staying in the function room above the pub have reported waking to the sensation of someone sitting on their bed, only to open their eyes and find the room empty. Others have heard phantom footsteps pacing the hallway at night and the sound of a woman humming an old, unrecognizable tune coming from locked storage rooms. The cellar is perhaps the most active, and terrifying, area of the building. Multiple staff members have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when entering alone, with some claiming to have been physically pushed by an unseen force. Bottles have been known to fly off shelves without explanation, and shadowy figures have been spotted lurking in corners before disappearing. One bartender reported hearing clear, angry whispers telling him to get out when he was changing kegs late at night. Paranormal investigators visiting the site have captured numerous electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, including a man's voice growling, "This is my place," and a woman softly crying for help. Whether it's George South maintaining his eternal vigil over the bar, heartbroken spirits from the building's brothel days, or something more sinister in the cellar, the Edinburgh Castle's haunted reputation continues to grow. Patrons might come for the drinks and live music, but many leave with stories of unexplained chills, strange sightings, and the unsettling feeling that they were never really alone during their visit. The pub staff have learned to live with their ghostly regulars, but for first-time visitors unprepared for a supernatural encounter, a night at the Edinburgh Castle might turn out to be far more memorable, and frightening, than they ever expected. 8. The Theat Theatre. The Theat Theatre, a grand old entertainment venue in Adelaide's western suburbs, has been the stage for more than just performances. It's home to ghostly actors who never left the spotlight. Built in 1928, this historic theatre has hosted countless shows over the decades, but its most permanent resident appears to be a spirit the staff call the Lady in White. Numerous performers and stagehands have reported seeing the ghostly figure of a young woman in an old-fashioned white dress standing in the balcony or wandering backstage. Many believe she may have been an aspiring actress who died tragically during the theatre's early years, though no official records confirm this. Stage technicians working late have heard phantom applause coming from the empty auditorium, and some have spotted the mysterious woman watching rehearsals from the shadows, only for her to vanish when approached. The scent of strong floral perfume often lingers in the dressing rooms when no one is there, with many believing it's the Lady in White making her presence known. The theatre's backstage areas hold particularly chilling stories. Crew members report tools going missing and reappearing in strange places, lights flickering unpredictably, and the unsettling feeling of being watched in empty corridors. One electrician claimed he saw a row of seats in the balcony lower and raise by themselves as if invisible audience members were sitting down and standing up. Performers waiting in the wings sometimes report feeling an icy hand touch their shoulder, only to turn and find no one there. The most disturbing encounter happened during a concert when a security guard saw a pale woman in white walk straight through a backstage wall. When he investigated, he found the area led to a sealed-off section of the original 1928 building that no living person could access. The theatre's basement is considered the most haunted area, where staff refuse to go alone after dark. Many report hearing ghostly singing and the sound of a piano playing when the theatre is empty, despite all instruments being locked away. Paranormal investigators visiting the site have recorded unexplained voices and captured photographs showing strange misty figures in the balcony. Whether it's the Lady in White still yearning for her moment in the spotlight, former stagehands continuing their work after death, or other spirits drawn to the energy of performance, Theat Theatre's ghostly residents ensure that the show always goes on, even when no living performers are present. Visitors may come for the entertainment, but many leave with stories of unexplained chills, mysterious sightings, and the eerie sense that they were never the only ones watching the performance. The theater staff have grown accustomed to their supernatural co-workers, but for first-time visitors, encountering one of the venue's permanent ghostly patrons can turn an evening at the theater into a truly unforgettable, and unsettling, experience. 9. The Athlstone Child's Grave. The Athlstone Child's Grave is one of South Australia's most heartbreaking haunted locations, where the spirit of a little girl is said to linger near her lonely gravesite. Tucked away in a quiet reserve near Morialta Falls, this simple stone marker bears the inscription, Little Lily, with the dates 1874 to 1883, though no official records exist of a child by that name being buried there. According to local legend, Lily was a 9-year-old girl who died under tragic circumstances in the late 1800s, possibly from illness or an accident while her family traveled through the area. Visitors to the grave report feeling sudden sadness and unexplained cold spots, even on warm days. Many have left toys and flowers at the site, only to return later and find them moved or arranged differently, as if someone unseen has been playing with them. Parents sometimes report hearing children's laughter in the area when no children are present, and several people have captured mysterious orbs and light anomalies in photographs taken near the grave. The most common ghostly encounter involves seeing a small girl in old-fashioned clothing near the gravesite or wandering along nearby Forth Creek. Witnesses describe her wearing a white pinafore dress with long braids, appearing solid and real at first glance before suddenly vanishing. Some hikers have reported seeing her skipping ahead of them on walking trails, only to disappear around a bend. At night, Strange phenomena increase around the grave, flashlights and cameras often malfunction, people report hearing a child's voice whispering, and some have felt tiny, invisible hands tugging at their clothing. One family camping nearby swore they saw the ghostly girl standing at the edge of their campsite, watching them before fading into the trees. Paranormal investigators believe Lily's spirit remains tied to the area because her grave was forgotten for many years before being rediscovered, leaving her without proper remembrance. Others suggest she may be trying to lead people to her true burial site, as some historians suspect the current marker might not be in its original location. Whatever the truth behind the legend, the Athlstone child's grave continues to draw visitors hoping to catch a glimpse of the lonely little ghost. Some leave small gifts or toys to comfort her spirit, while others simply stand quietly, overcome by the profound sadness that seems to linger around the simple stone. Whether she's a real ghost or just a tragic legend, the story of little Lily touches everyone who visits her resting place, serving as a haunting reminder of how the innocent spirits of children might remain when taken too soon from this world. 10. The Strafelbin Church, St. Andrews. St. Andrew's Church in Strafelbin is one of South Australia's most spiritually active locations, where the line between the living and the dead seems to blur within its historic stone walls. Built in 1851, this beautiful Gothic-style church appears peaceful by daylight, but visitors and clergy report unsettling encounters that suggest restless souls still walk its aisles. The most frequently seen apparition is a hooded monk who glides silently through the church's rear pews before disappearing near the altar. Multiple witnesses describe seeing his shadowy figure during evening services or when the church is empty, often accompanied by the smell of old incense and the sound of faint chanting that seems to come from nowhere. Church caretakers have found candlesticks moved from their places, Bibles opened to specific pages they didn't leave them on, and the distinct sound of sandal-clad footsteps echoing through the empty sanctuary late at night. The church's bell tower holds particularly chilling stories. Despite the bell ropes being securely tied, many have reported hearing the deep toll of a single bell ringing at midnight when no living person could have rung it. Several brave souls who investigated these phantom bell sounds claim to have seen a skeletal figure pulling the ropes, its hollow eye socket staring straight through them before vanishing into the darkness. The church's old pipe organ sometimes plays itself, with witnesses reporting the slow, mournful notes of hymns no one has touched filling the empty building. One choir member practicing alone swore she heard an entire invisible choir join her singing before the phantom voices suddenly cut off mid-verse. Beneath the church lies an even more disturbing mystery, the sealed crypt that reportedly contains the remains of early settlers. Visitors standing above this area often describe feeling sudden dizziness or nausea, while others report hearing faint scratching sounds and muffled cries coming from below the floorboards. Paranormal investigators visiting St. Andrews have recorded electronic voice phenomena of a man whispering in Latin and the sound of children crying near the baptismal font. Whether these spirits are former clergy still tending to their church, settlers unable to rest in their crypt, or something more ancient tied to the land itself, St. Andrew's haunted reputation continues to grow. Sunday worshippers sometimes share uneasy glances when unexplained cold drafts pass through the pews or when hymnal pages turn by themselves, quiet reminders that the congregation may include more members than those who are alive. The church's current ministers acknowledge the strange occurrences but consider them part of the building's long spiritual history, leaving visitors to wonder whether they've witnessed holy miracles or something far more unsettling during their time within these hallowed, yet haunted, walls.